Ndiritu Muriithi is the governor of Laikipia County, and he now also wears a new cap. So, what are you again? We've been seeing in the media very many chairman of a board of. What's your title when it comes to the Raila Odinga presidential campaign?
You're quite right, Eric. I mean, I am governor of Laikipia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also chair of the finance committee of the Council of Governors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also, beginning early this last week, the chairman of the campaign board for the Azimio presidential candidate.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to PNU?
When I am PNU Supremo is what I saw somebody referring to. But I saw, and I thought, well, okay, there is a name I have not heard in a while. PNU Supremo.
Okay, so PNU Supremo and chairman of the campaign. Yeah. So welcome to the Situation Room. Good to have you. Good to have you in the show, as always. We want to talk about what Azimio is basically going to be selling to the public.
Indeed.
And, you've been talking about this. We've seen other Supremos as well talking about the building of a grand coalition in terms of Azimio. What is this grand coalition?
It's a nationalist coalition. And I'm sure you're going to ask me, what we mean by a nationalist coalition.
Yeah, is there any that's regional?
I think a good example is the National Rainbow Coalition. I think that's a really good example of what we are creating. Mm-hmm. And we do so because, you see, Kenya belongs to all of us. I know some guys argue and debate and politic as though they are about to take off to some other country. So let's ban this one and then go some other place. Mm-mm. I mean, we, Azimio, we are going to be right here. This is our country and we must build it together. Mm-hmm. Now, that means we must accommodate different views. Your neighbor, your colleague will have a different view from yours. Mm-hmm. But how else can democracy function if you cannot be tolerant of that view? That I may have a different view from you. It doesn't make my view wrong or any lesser than yours. So even if you prefer this candidate to this other one, or I prefer this different candidate, that is what democracy is about. So what we as Azimio are asking all of us as Kenyans, we owe it to ourselves to step closer and together and step forward. If you recall, in the immediate aftermath of the Rainbow campaign, and what was Rainbow selling? Rainbow was selling hope. Just like perhaps a comparable campaign by Obama. Rainbow, our tune was unbogable. I think it was Julius Owino, Gidi Gidi Maji Maji. Yeah. And they sang this song. I said, we are unbogable. And it gave you this, we are saying we are unstoppable. We are, and that's what it was. And in the immediate aftermath, a poll by Gallup found Kenya to be the most hopeful nation on earth. Because it was about hope, and we believed we were going to change Kenya, and we did. Police officers found themselves arrested by citizens and taken to a police station. Police officers. That's what it is about. And I tell you, Eric, the content of the campaign is as important. I mean, the tone, the conversations in the campaign is one of the most critical issues. Why? Because the economy, Eric, runs on confidence.
So the National Rainbow Coalition brought together various actors.
Indeed.
And various parties. There was Ford Kenya, there was the Democratic Party, there was LDP and all the others. They formed the National Rainbow Coalition. Okay, 5 years down the road, we saw PNU, all right? It was a party of national unity. It was talking about the same thing, national unity, bring together all these other, parties. In fact, let's forget going into this election as DP, let's go as PNU, Party of National Unity. 5 years later, URP, TNA, and others come together and they form the Jubilee coalition.
Because the negative...
CORD had a coalition. 5 years later, we have Jubilee coming together as a party, and NASA, the National Super Alliance. So what's the difference between all those things that we've had in the last 20 years with what you're telling us that we're going to have now?
Well, first of all, the vision of a nationalist coalition is not new. I mean, we have not come to the table to say that we have invented it. We haven't. As a matter of fact, we have come to the table saying every time where Kenya has been able to achieve a nationalist coalition, Kenya does better. Cast back, well, we were not born, but look at 1963.
Excuse me. I was born.
There's an element that you
Just
Carry on.
No, I'm just telling you I was born. Just go on.
My apologies. Some of us. I think that's the best. Yes. When I are in trouble here. Some of us. Now, anyway, we let's not lose it. The point was 1963 is a nationalist coalition. As a matter of fact, told me by my own mother that there was an election in 1961 or early 62. Kanu, in fact, had more seats, but Jaramogi refused to form government, internal self-government, as a strategy to force the colonialist to release Jomo Kenyatta. So you can see the idea of people looking beyond themselves and beyond their ethnic community or their region and looking to Kenya, and that's what we mean by a nationalist coalition. You see it again in Rainbow. Now, it's not every time when we attempt that we have been successful. It isn't. And I think that there are several things that need to play right in order for Kenya to move forward properly or to move forward better. One is a nationalist coalition, but it's also a question of what is that nationalist coalition selling? The truth of the matter is this. In 2013, the Jubilee coalition, because remember it is TNA, URP, they were successful. But what were they selling? They sold fear of ICC, fear of Kimodo, and so on. But they won. It's the same with Trump. What did Trump sell? Trump was selling fear. Fear of who? Fear of black people, fear of women, fear of immigrants. He won. But by winning using negative emotion, you set the country up for failure. In the end of Trump, there were still angry white men who went then to try and burn Capitol as though that was going to change anything. It didn't. If you look at Jubilee has been really successful in putting up infrastructure. Really, really successful. The truth of the matter is that Uhuru has built far many more roads than Kibaki did. But the economy has not quite reacted in the same manner because there was negative sentiment inside the economy. So the tone and the what we sell needs to be correct, but also it is far better if it is sold by a nationalist coalition because then everybody is included, and that's the difference.
So, Governor, what is Azimio selling? And I think now that's where we jump onto that, is saying, all right, with all this, background that you've given, what is being sold? Because if we want to look at what the situation is on the ground now, people's hopes have been dashed. But I still find Kenya quite a resilient people. Indeed. In that they're still saying, all right, we are still hopeful that something else can happen where our livelihoods are secured on the back of all of that. What is it that Azimio is coming in to say that things are going to change and get better? That on that hope we're selling beyond the hope, because it's nice, but you can't really touch it until you see something tangible.
What it is.
Right? So what is it?
Our competitors are fond of saying, what is the agenda? We are on the agenda of completing Vision 2030. And I'll try and be quick with it. Middle income, democratic, industrializing country with a high quality of life. Middle income, democratic, industrializing with a high quality of life. So if you unpack what's inside there, what is middle income? Middle income is $15,000 per person per year. $15,000 per person per year. You can translate that to approximately 120, 1.5 million shillings
yes.
Per person, like 125,000 shillings per person per month. That's the target. How do you get there? You get there by promoting manufacturing and high quality, high technology services. Now, again, it's not a new thing as though we have invented the wheel. That is how rich countries have been able to do it. Even the ones we say we want to emulate, Singapore, Korea, that's how you do it. So the most urgent business for Kenya in front of us is actually to create manufacturing. And manufacturing is not about going to India or some other place to find an industrialist to come here. It's about enabling Eric or Ndiritu or Udu or Muga to manufacture. Like how? If you go to Nyahururu today, you will find a young man with others called Jogu who makes tuk-tuks. If you go to Nyanyuki, you will find some young men called Swift Lab who make drones. There in Nyanyuki, you will find Muriithi Engineering who makes grain dryers and has been selling across the continent. It's about ensuring that you make that person more competitive. How? By buying down cost of credit, cost of power, and making that SME in Nanyuki competitive. It is not rocket science, it is straightforward, but it requires courage from a policy point of view. Democratic. That look, and honestly, I want to say to my colleagues in politics, order people. It cannot be that you go around threatening Kenyans, calling them strange names. Every Kenyan has a constitutional right to be a Kenyan and to live wherever they wish and to do whatever business they wish that is legal and hopefully also moral. Democratic. And that is why we as Azimio, we don't ask you to fold up your political party in order to join with us. Come and form a coalition with us so that we move together. Industrializing, I've spoken to this question, high quality of life, and I want to spend a moment here because health is a very critical thing in ensuring a high quality of life. You know, if you are the richest person on the continent but you are sick, then you know. So, what is it about health, and how do we get it? Is about universal health. Universal health is one. Access, meaning that the citizen does not have to walk forever to find services, and that when they get there, they find a full service. And above all, that when they go to hospital, it is not financially catastrophic. That is why NHIF reforms, that is why ensuring that every household has health insurance. For example, go to Laikipia. 65% of the households have health insurance right now. Right now as we speak.
That they contribute to or that is paid for them by the
Both.
county government?
A combination. A combination. Because the indigent, like if you take elderly or if you take persons with living with disabilities and so on. So it's a combination. Those who are contributing directly for themselves, but also those who are supported by government. And we can see the target of 100% is within reach. That is what Azimio is about. Azimio is about not just hope, but hope you can touch and feel, and hope that is real, not just slogans.
So those things that you've just said are things that we've heard before. From the various political campaigns, we heard them from TNA, we heard them from CORD, we heard them from Jubilee, we heard them from NASA. We've heard them the same from URP now. We are hearing the same from Azimio. How different? What's the difference? Is the difference in the person who's speaking?
Interesting you asked that question, Eric. My answer would be like this. It is better to travel with somebody who knows the way than to travel with somebody who is guessing the way. Now, They both might have promised you, let us go to Mombasa or let us go to Kinshasa. All right? But it is better to travel in the company of those who actually know the way to Mombasa as opposed to those who are guessing the way to Mombasa. So you may say we sound the same, but you must ask a deeper question. You must ask a deeper question, Eric. Who of these teams, who among us have demonstrated to you and to the whole world that we know the way to the things that we're promising?
It's the same people, Governor.
I hear-
unless you're telling me that this is an admission by those who have been in TNA and Jubilee that they clearly did not know the way. And that's why they're now joining Raila and his team who know the way.
Eric.
It's an admission that finally, you know what? All those things we were telling you and Raila was telling you the
We got
same.
it wrong
Actually, Raila is the one who knew the way. Now we are joining him.
Eric, Ndiritu Muriithi is sitting in your studio.
Yes.
Okay? You must ask the question, if Ndiritu Muriithi says we can get UHC, has he demonstrated in Laikipia that it's practical to get UHC?
Yes.
Ndiritu Muriithi is sitting in your studio. If he says we can create jobs, you must ask the really hard question. Show us which jobs you have created in Laikipia. Demonstrate to us with numbers.
So
and
are
that's the difference.
So, Governor, are you saying, because I know Eric wants to go to break, but are you saying that you being on that team with other people, then demonstrative of the fact that what you have done in your area and that you're joining with other like-minded
not just
people
me.
is then a guarantee to the people of Kenya that we can do this and we can
Absolutely.
do
And
it
it is
together?
not just me. Example number one, exhibit number one, Elgeyo Marakwet, the fastest growing county in Kenya, growing at 10% in Azimio. Exhibit two, the second fastest growing counties in Laikipia. I mean, Laikipia and Nyandarua, the second fastest growing counties in Kenya, both in Azimio. Kisumu, the third fastest growing county, growing at around 8% in Azimio. Look at and keep going like that. Then ask a different question. If and you know when you are, for example, when you go to court, you are innocent until you are proven guilty. But let me ask, if you got in a bus and a really large majority of the people in a bus have court cases, what does that tell you in your own mind?
That you're heading to prison.
Among other
It's a
things.
prison bus.
No, yeah, it's because you
Transport A to point A to point B.
With you this morning is Eric Latif Nduoko City Muga, and our guest is the governor of Laikipia County, the Honorable Ndiritu Muriithi City.
May I, Muga, try and complete an answer to a question you asked me, Eric? That am I saying that TNA did not know the way and so on? And I'm not saying any such thing. What I'm saying is we completing Vision 2030. Vision 2030 has 3 pillars and 3 enablers. And the truth of the matter is that both the Kibaki and the Uhuru administration have done about 5 of those things that needed to be done in order to get us to where we need to be. Okay, what are those things? Let me start with the political pillar, which sought to reform our politics so that some of the things that have given us difficulties in the past, we overcome them, and above all, we promote fundamental rights and freedoms of Kenyans. And that we ultimately did with the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The political culture, though, is work in progress. Witness some of the nasty comments by political leaders this weekend. So the political culture, fully reforming it, it is work in progress. But the foundational law, the Constitution itself, is delivered. Social pillar, which has to do with you cannot leave any citizen behind, and you must do everything practical to bring everybody to a point where they are also able to move on their own, and hence the issues of social protection. And they did not start with Uhuru, they actually started with Kibaki. And Uhuru has progressed social protection, and Raila is proposing to progress social protection even further. Take the enablers. ICT started with Kibaki, unleashing mobile phones, unleashing the fiber optic cables and so on, progressed further by the Jubilee administration. Take infrastructure, started with Kibaki, accelerated by Jubilee administration. So, when we tell you that we are in the cusp of an economic revolution, we are in the beginning of an economic revolution because the foundations are now all basically sorted out. Last one is education. And although we are debating, complaining with one another about the CBC, the reality is that there is no country on earth that is able to achieve middle class without about 25 and above % of the population having tertiary education. And we are nearly there. So it is not that these two previous administrations did not know. It is that there were 6 big things that needed to be done. 5 are done realistically well. And I ask you again, Eric, if you want to go to Mombasa, travel with those who know the way, not those who are guessing the way.
So City ask now.
Valid point.
I have very many counters to that, but let's continue.
No, valid counters notwithstanding, it's a valid point. It has been said on many occasions that the anti-Raila rhetoric in central Kenya was extremely effective. Effective to the point where voting for Raila was akin to putting a noose around your own neck. Now, the chairman of the Azimio group, the person who's leading the electoral process for the Azimio candidate is from central Kenya. And he's with others from central Kenya. My focus is central Kenya. The question I'm asking is, are they able to retrace? Are they able to turn around this very effective narrative that has existed for so long?
Yes, they are able. In fact, I should say they are ready, willing, and able. Ready, willing and able.
Yes.
Just a short few months ago, it was thought that Honorable Raila couldn't, in fact, whatever. But we have proven beyond a shadow of doubt that the people of Mount Kenya are ready, willing, and able to embrace the Honorable Raila. The people of Mount Kenya accept that we had been in competition with the Honorable Raila, firstly, or most recently, with the Uhuru presidency, and before the Uhuru presidency, with the Kibaki presidency. If you look at poll numbers, they are certainly trending in the right direction. Raila Odinga has moved from about 14% to 33% now. If you look at other optics, like just how citizens turn out and their reaction to the message and to a candidate, you can see without a doubt that Mount Kenya is ready, willing, and able to embrace Honorable Raila. And I repeat again, yes, we have had competition because Mount Kenya has produced the last 2 presidential candidates. And obviously, Mount Kenya then voted and supported their sons in those 2 elections. And I don't think you can begrudge them. But Mount Kenya is solidly behind Raila Odinga this time round.
Why Raila? You just told us, Governor, that the fastest growing counties in the country, and you can tell us what we're using as a yardstick, Elgeyo Marakwet County, Laikipia County, Nyandarua County,
and Kisumu.
The top 3 are Jubilee counties. You've also told us that Jubilee has delivered. Roads have been done. Education system is moving. You're telling us about the economic pillar, the social pillar. If Jubilee has been working, why are you breaking what's working to go now and work with your former opponent?
Oh, I'm not.
Why is Jubilee not?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware, Eric, that Jubilee has a presidential candidate. To the best of my knowledge, they don't.
The deputy leader of Jubilee.
Oh, he has said
vying.
differently. For
vying.
purposes of re-election or for purposes of vying, he is not Jubilee. The only thing he is happy to accept is success. So if a road has been built, he wants to say he was there when it was built.
And which is my point exactly.
And if on the other hand, if we haven't attained the level of income we want for people, then he wants to distance himself from that. So in a very real sense, he wants to have his cake and eat it, but he's not here to defend himself. Let's move on.
So the question I'm asking
Yes.
is that unit that was working together in 2013 and again in 2017, and that you say has delivered, and even economic figures are showing that clearly, even in areas where you had a Jubilee governor and a Jubilee senator and a Jubilee majority in the assembly, the results are clearly showing here that Jubilee has delivered. Why are you breaking that one?
Eric, I fear you're putting words into my mouth. let me clarify my way.
Eric,
because
Eric is doing precisely that, putting words in your mouth.
absolutely, because
Now they're in your mouth.
yeah. So let me rearrange them then. Let me rearrange. Eric, in any organization, one hopes that 100% of the team is pulling in the right direction, but very very often, in organizations, whether in the public space or in the private space, you will find individuals, managers in that organization who are pulling in an opposite direction. For instance, I think it is not lost on anybody in Kenya. There has been a major rift between the president and his deputy, because for 4 or 5 years, the president has been saying, look, guys, can we focus at the job at hand? And some guys were more interested in campaigning on a daily basis. And that has led to some very serious rifts. That, look, what is it that you are not hearing? Let us work first and create then the platform even for you or any other person to campaign. So, the truth of the matter, the number 2 has been focused in a different direction. You can't begrudge him. It is for Kenyans to judge. What I'm saying to you, Eric, again and again, that if you are in a bus or you walk in a room and just about everybody in that room has a court case or another. Now, and I'm not saying they're guilty. I'm just asking you, what impression does that give you if you walk in a room of 30 people and 25 of them have court cases ongoing? What does that tell you?
You have a robust justice system.
Oh, it's possibly. So, Ndiritu, Muriithi, what guarantees? Because I think that's at the end of all of this, then, is that question. That whether it's things that we've heard before, almost on a repetitive basis, that we want to take the country forward economically, that we want to do, whether there has been political musical chairs that has played around here, if people have moved from one place to the other. At the end of the day, even if people have moved, which they often do, especially here, what guarantee can you give to Kenyans today that in as much as we have moved, whether the message is the same or the message has changed, whether it is now support has moved from one individual to another, what guarantee can you give Kenyans that what you are serving them is what that they will consume that will better their livelihoods and better this nation, that they can touch and feel today?
What guarantee? Let me offer 3 points. Point number 1, of course, is track record, which Eric was trying to rubbish a little bit here, but it's track record. The fact of the matter, for example, let me speak for myself, but I'm talking about quite a number of counties, and all of them are in Azimio. But let me talk about Laikipia for a moment. The where we said we are going to build roads, we have actually built roads. Where we said we are going to support small businesses, we have actually supported small businesses. I have an ongoing economic stimulus program for 4 billion. Now, some guys are actually saying, oh, we'll give you 100 million. And we're saying, look, guys, I mean, at least be in the same room with us. You know, if we as a county already have 1.3 billion per sub-county, what is this you're offering of 100 million in support of small business? We already have 1.3 billion, so you can only up that game. So my word is my bond. I mean, the things that I promised, and if you take my scorecard, these are the 12 things I said I will do with Laikipia. I have done them. So you can believe that the things I'm promising, I will do. Second, and that is repeated if you look at Elgeyo Marakwet, if you look at Kisumu, if you look at Azimio counties. I think you also have to look at character of the leaders involved. Because changing, reform, like for example, when you talk about small business and what needs to be done, when you go inside there, you will find that there's some laws and things that have to be consistently changed and improved. it requires courage and conviction. So you must ask yourself, who are the people, who is the individual or team of people who have the force of conviction, who are willing to go the extra mile for their conviction. Now, certainly, amongst the crop of people, of Kenyans who are offering themselves to run for presidency, none can beat Raila for living up to the force of conviction, for willing to go to jail repeatedly because you believe in a particular something. Now, 9 years, 8.5, 9 years in jail, untold misery to family. You know, Kenyans want to forget perhaps too easily that Raila Odinga was thrown in detention. His wife was working, I think, in Kenya High School. She's thrown out of a job, never mind, plus young kids. And they endure that and continue. Among these other contenders, who can really say, I have stood up? And so character, I would say, is a third thing, because it points you to the fact that this is something somebody is doing with out of conviction, and therefore that they are more likely to do. My very last point is, again, related to character, but how? Now, I know people say the end justifies the means, but I can tell you the economy runs on confidence. If you create fear, or when you create fear in people, even if you win, you will have a great deal of difficulty in getting the economy going. The economy runs on confidence. Consumer confidence and business confidence. You cannot build confidence by doing the kind of stuff that was happening on the weekend. You build confidence by first of all getting people to feel comfortable, removing fear, and doing everything possible to create hope.
And perhaps also maybe you can chip in, because then also I'm convicted that you also build that confidence when you have an intimate knowledge and an understanding of how you're going to get these things done. Absolutely. Because I've often said that if you're not able to explain the how, that means that you're probably just saying things for PR.
For the sake of saying them.
But if you're able to explain to people how we're going to do it, then chances are that you've studied this stuff and that you've taken an interest in it. So you then have it hands-on in terms of how you're going to do it. So as opposed to come and making sweeping statements, then you're also being able to explain to people, this is what we are going to do. This is where we're going to get the money from to put 6,000 shillings in the hands of Kenyans every month. This is how it's actually going to happen. So you've taken time to actually study that. I think that also puts a great amount of confidence in the hearts and minds of Kenyans. And then the question is, are you ready to go that mile and say, we will explain to you how we are going to do it? Because then it shows that we are serious about this business.
And if we can persuade Eric in the following manner, you see, the economic stuff is not what's the word I am allowed to use on radio? It's not sexy. It's heavy stuff. It's heavy stuff. It's not catchy for the platform. Like, for example, let's unpack the 6,000 shillings per household. I've already explained, we'll do that. Social protection we started in Kibaki regime. Okay, at that time, in fact, it was called free maternity. For example, one of the things we're doing was free maternity.
Yep.
Then in Uhuru time, it's called Linda Mama, but an extension.
Yep.
We started in Kibaki time providing a small stipend for people with disabilities. And that has been expanded in Uhuru time, so persons with disabilities and as well as the elderly. And this is the same thing. Now, from where is the money going to come from? Two things that very, very basic things we will do. And this is why it's technical, so it's not really nice for platform politics. When you put 100 shillings in your account in a bank, that bank takes 4 shillings and 75 cents and puts it in an account in central bank, this 4 shillings does not earn interest when the bank has put it in the central bank. It's called cash ratio. Now, scientifically, we have come to the point where it is not necessary for the cash ratio to be 4.5%. So for 4 shillings and 75 cents to be put aside in the central bank, that number will come down to about 1.5 shillings, which means we are releasing 3 shillings and 25 cents back to the economy. Now, you might think it's some little money, but we are talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of 600-700 billion shillings of liquidity released to become productive in the economy. Okay? So when we tell you we are going to do 6,000 shillings per household, it is because we know where we are going to get the resources from. We have said that we are going to support small business across the nation. I give you the example of the work we are doing in Laikipia as a sort of thing we are going to replicate around the nation that we know. For instance, if you are a manufacturer in Kenya, a small manufacturer like now, the guy of Sagak Tech who make the tuk-tuk, or Swift Lab who make drones, or Muriithi Engineering who make electric dryers, you are paying nearly 20 shillings per kilowatt hour,
To Kenya
of,
Power.
to Kenya Power. Granted, this month, President Uhuru and his government is trying to bring that down. But even if it comes down by 15%, that would be still about 16 shillings. Your competitor in India is paying 7 shillings. In Laikipia, this financial year, we are providing you with tax relief and tax rebate to buy down that cost of power so that you yourself, as Muriithi Engineering or as Davina Engineering in Nanyuki, you are paying 8 shillings. So you pay 18 bob, you bring your receipt, and we give you back tax relief or in fact call it a rebate in order to buy down the cost of that power,
production.
and that makes you competitive compared to your competitors in India and China. The things we are telling you, we are not guessing. It is the things that we have done. A couple of things that we will change out of what Uhuru administration is doing. For example, we believe ourselves that instead of amalgamating we call them development financial institutions, so KIE, Kenya Industrial Estates, Industrial Development Bank of Kenya, ICDC, IDB and ICDC, and one that they closed called Small Finance, Small Enterprise Finance Company of Kenya. We want to bring them back and scale them up because that is what works. And we have evidence from other economies where it has worked. So the things we are telling you, the things we are telling Kenyans, it is not guesswork. Granted, because they are not, we don't insult people and we don't call them, profiling labels.
They may not sound sexy.
They may not sound sexy.
Can they be done immediately? Do they have to wait for Raila to become president?
They are being done immediately. In Elgeyo Marakwet, in Kisumu, in Nyandarua, in Laikipia, in Nakuru. Just 3 days ago, KCB and Nakuru County government signed, a replica of what is going on between KCB and Laikipia. And you saw it just in today's newspapers. In fact, they were announcing this. So we are doing these things. We are not waiting. But we want nationally so that we can do it nationally and do it bigger and ensure that Kenya is moving forward. And not one region of Kenya, all of us.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.